with some things. This might help with your thing, and this may be hard to articulate, but like the evolution of compliance in the last, when it started, and you said now it's about to change.
Yeah.
Is there any way, can you explain that somewhat to us as far as maybe when you were coming up and learning? Did you always know you were going to be in compliance? Or
No.
not at all? Just fell into?
Yeah. I'll start with that part. I was in law school, and it was my second year of law school, and we had an appellate advocacy class, which is basically mock trial. So you do your whole case, you go up and present it between three actual justices. I was in Florida, in Miami at the time, so these are actually like Miami appeals court, right? So you go and you do your case, whatever. I won, but I walked out of the courtroom, never again. I was like, I never want to step foot in a courtroom ever again in my life. So I went home and I Googled what I can do with a law degree, besides being a lawyer, and found compliance. So I drove down to University of Miami, met with the guy, and then he gave me a job. Well, not paid or anything, but he let me come in and help him. So that's what I did, and then just kept going from there. Evolution of compliance.
So like when you started?
Yeah, from the time I started until now, I would say the biggest change has honestly been Twitter, because Twitter makes our life hell.
Yeah, well, I was going to base some of that too, but the NCA kind of is what you guys base off of as they get more and more stuff. You guys have to change and adapt to it.
Yeah, we do, and the NCAA is very slow. Yeah. They're very slow to adapt. They're very slow to change, and their problem is they want to pigeonhole everything. Like they want to make a specific rule for Twitter. What they don't understand is that tomorrow something new is going to come out which they haven't addressed, and there's going to be 30 things go wrong, and then they're going to address it. Well, why not just make one rule that's all-encompassing and just eliminate all this on the front end? You know, they don't think that way.
It's not Twitter, it's Instagram.
Exactly. Well, then, there was Voxer came out, where it's basically a walkie-talkie. Well, they didn't address that, but you could Voxer a recruit, and there's no trace of that. I mean, I get phone records from Verizon, and you can't see a Voxer, So they can just constantly be on Voxer all the time. But they don't address that stuff, so that it kind of knocks their credibility down. So I would say the biggest change is all of this stuff, like Twitter and Voxer and all this social media, and that's just, I think that started the decline in credibility for the NCAA.
All the innovation.
And I mean, I'll tell you right now, I'm not a fan of the NCAA at all. I don't work for them. I don't like them. I don't agree with them. Pretty much anything that they say, I don't agree with. To tell you the truth.
I mean, we had the issue with the secret scrimmage.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff that we had to go through for that secret scrimmage. It was ridiculous. We had a men's basketball scrimmage. You have to lock the doors. Nobody can come in. You can't talk about it. You can't release the stats. You can't. Why make all these rules? So a lot of them are unnecessary, and that's why they're deregulating a lot of the rule book right now. They're trying to deregulate a lot of the rule book, and their rationale is just ridiculous on a lot of things because many of them have never worked on campus. So it's kind of like if you have a judge who's never been a lawyer, which is impossible, but say you did. You had a judge who's never practiced law, and all they do is read a book and read a case, then they don't understand how it's actually working in real life. So that's kind of what the NCAA is doing, because they haven't been on campus. They don't know how this stuff impacts your daily life with coaches. So they throw down these rulings on waivers and cases and stuff just by the black letter of the rule book. And it kills us. I mean, we can't even operate on a daily basis by doing some of this stuff. So basically what you have to do is try to connive your way into a ruling by just being smarter than them.
Because a lot of them have never even worked in athletics.
No, some of them haven't. Some of them went from, a lot of them went from law school to the NCAA. So it doesn't really help our situation.
This may not help any of us, but I do a lot of stuff with social media, and I talk to Andrew Donovan at LSU quite a bit. He does.
I worked with him in Miami.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He does a lot of stuff with social media.
Yeah.
Me and Tom do our social media. Like, how do you feel about that within compliance? Whose responsibility is it, and do you approve of like due diligence and that kind of stuff, outsourcing it to other companies?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I support social media. I mean, I want us to do social media as much as possible. The outsourcing part, the only problem with that is that the North Carolina case that came down, they said that you don't have a duty to monitor social media but if you do start to monitor it, then you're on the hook for it. So basically what they're saying is, why would you monitor it? So, I mean, I've talked to Tom about this, talked to Jimmy Stanton, and it's more of, I want us to monitor our student athletes so they're not saying vulgar and stuff like that, like making themselves look terrible on Twitter. But I don't want to sit on there all day and make sure that they're not tweeting about a recruit, because that would be a huge waste of my time, and is that really what we're worried about? So I feel like if we outsourced it, then we would be on the hook, because they would say, you get a daily status report of all of your athletes and what they tweet. Well, yeah, but I have to go through that every day and make sure none of it violates rules. So that's going to take 2-3 hours out of my day to go through this stuff.
So basically, like the bad days, education, and then
Education is really all we can do on that, because if I start looking on Twitter, I can go on Twitter right now and find a violation. I mean, it's every day you could do that, and I don't want to do that. So I definitely don't want a report coming in telling me all that. So it's really just educating them, and I know Tom does a good job at that, and just educating them and making sure they know what they can and can't say. I've met with my sports and specifically told them what they can and can't say on Twitter and what you have to avoid, and it's just hard. I mean, they're 19, 20 years old.
Only thing I need to address in my questions is excellence within an organization, which I guess we already talked about that, but I mean, there's all this stuff to go through, but can you elaborate on what you think I'll do well? And we already kind of talked about it, but everything.
Good. Building relationships with the coaches. I think that's our best thing. We work really well together. Our staff, it was built pretty well.
You did a good job building it.
Yeah, I did. I think I did a really good job building that one. I had to give myself an A on that. But we're on the philosophy of take your job seriously, but not each other. So I mean, if we were serious all the time, we would probably all commit suicide, to tell you the truth, because the job is really stressful. So I think we do a good job of kind of keeping it loose, and that translates over to the coaches too, because they can see that. We don't want to be. I like to go down to men's basketball and joke around with them, because then whenever I come down and tell them something that they don't want to hear, then it's not constantly like, oh my God, here he is, type of thing. So I think we're really good at that. We're really good at not being that scary compliance office, and honestly, we're really good at what our specific areas. We've divided it up really well.
And I have